The Olympic Games are held every 4 years. This makes the Summer Games go up in an arithmetic sequence. So the Summer Games were held in 2000, 2004, Beijing's 2008. The 32nd Olympics were to be held in Tokyo of 2020. So what year would the 50th Olympics be held? Okay, so we know that we've got the bunch of Olympics happening here, so I'm just going to sketch this out. So I've got a bunch of Olympics happening, and ... And the 32nd Olympics happens in 2020. And we want to go all the way up to the 50th Olympics. And we want to know what year that happens in. We know that it's going up by +4, so it's going to be 2024, 2028, etc. And we want to know how many steps there are between 32nd Olympics and the 50th Olympics. So we can write our formula here. Tn is equal to A plus n minus 1 times d. This is only good if I know what the first term is and I know my common difference. Well, I do know my common difference. Now let's approach this from a slightly different perspective. We know what the progression is. If we know how many steps are in between, really this calculates this number of steps between n and the first term 1. So we can kind of modify this formula. We can say that the 50th term, if we start at the 32nd term, so 2020, I just need to figure out how many steps there are in between. And to figure out the number of steps, it's just going to be 50 minus 32. This represents the number of steps between. And then we know it goes up by +4. So if I know that there's 18 steps from 32 to 50, and I know each step is +4, then I can calculate the n position, or T50 in this case. So it's going to be 2020 plus 4 times 18, and that gives us T50 is equal to 2020 plus 18 times 4 works out to be 72. So we know that the 50th Olympics will happen in 2092. Okay, so the year 2092, the 50th Summer Olympics should be held. For this one here, we can look at this problem and we can figure out what's the general equation. To find the general equation, we need to know the starting point, or some starting point, and we need to know the d. Now this looks a little bit hard because we don't know the starting point or the d in here, nor do we know the starting point or the d in here. But if I let this T4, I know that T4 is equal to the starting point plus 3 d's. So 3 steps from 1 to 4. This one here is going to be T5 is the starting point plus 4 steps to go from 1 to 5. And I have an equation with 2 variables. Well, if I have an equation with 2 variables, I can probably solve this. So I'm just going to label this as equation 1, and I have 2a plus 7d equals 34. And I can come up with a second equation here. So this is in relationship. I can say that if I start at a, and from 1 to 7, there's 6 steps. And each step is d. And I can come up with another one here. This is a plus. To get to 9, I want 8 steps to get to 9. And if I add those together, I get 62. And in simplifying this, I'm going to end up with 2a plus 14 steps is equal to 62. Now we can kind of guess and check this and figure out what a and d is that's going to work for both of these. I'm going to show you a strategy here, a method that we're going to learn a little bit more in depth later on, but I'm just using the idea that a balance means it's equal. If something is equal, then we can replace like for like. So if I take a look at equation 1, I'm just going to simplify this, and I'm just going to say, in fact, I'm just going to say that equation 1 rearranged is same as saying 2a is equal to 34 minus 7d. So I've just taken away 7d from this side and take away 7d from this side. And if I can say that 2a is equal to this, I can replace this 2a over here with the same thing. This is a like for like replacement. So I've replaced this 2a here with this 2a here, which is the same as 34 minus 7d. And then I have 14d equals 62. Now, why would I have done that? Well, the reason why I would have done this is because I can now solve for d, because there's only one d in the equation. So my equation then, if I simplify this, I end up with 34 minus 7 plus 14 is plus 7d is equal to 62. I can take away 34 from both sides, and I'm going to be left with 28. That makes my common difference equal to 4. So every step is equal to 4. And then I just need to figure out a. Well, I have an equation that I can solve for a. I know that 2a is equal to 34 minus 7 times d. Well, I figured out d is equal to 4, so I'm just going to plug that right into there. And then my equation is going to be 2a is equal to 34 minus 28. So 2a works out to be 6. Well, the starting value must be equal to 3, and I've figured this out algebraically. So I have enough information now to write my general equation. My general equation is Tn is equal to, starting at 3, n minus 1, and I'm going to go up by steps of 4. There's my my general equation for the t values of this expression. Just going to check this. T4 would equal, well, 3 times 4 is, so T4 is 15. T5 would be, I'm going up by 5, so plus 19, and that's equal to 34. That checks out. T7, if I put it into my equation, it's going to be 6 times 4 plus 3, so 27. T9 is going to be 35, and if I add those together, yeah, I get 62. Yeah, that seems to work. So I've managed to figure out my correct a and d values, which then gives me my correct equation.